The screen flickered to life with the opening credits of The Notebook, rain pounding on the windshield like it was trying to drown out the ache in my chest, but nothing could wash away the ghost of his touch. I'd replayed that night 1,000 times. The way Mason's calloused fingers had slipped over mine in the dark, electric and tentative, sealing a pact neither of us knew would shatter our worlds. And now, standing in the ruins of what we'd built, I realized that single gesture hadn't just sparked love, it had ignited a fire that would burn us both to the ground. I was 22, fresh out of community college in Dayton, Ohio, hauling boxes into a cramped apartment on the edge of Cincinnati, dreaming of something bigger than the Rust Belt monotony of my hometown. My name's Jordan Hale, and back then, I was the king of half-truths, telling Mom I was figuring things out, while scrolling Grindr in the dead of night, heart pounding like I'd been caught stealing communion wine from St. Mary's. Gay in the Midwest wasn't a death sentence anymore, not like the stories Grandpa whispered about his wild army days, but it sure as hell felt like walking a tightrope over a bonfire. One wrong step, and the whole family, Dad with his Steelers cap and unyielding handshake, Mom with her Tupperware casseroles and Bible study guilt trips, would tumble into the flames. That's when I met Levi first, or at least, when he crashed into my orbit like a meteor I didn't know was coming. It was at a dive bar called the Rusty Nail, the kind of place where the jukebox still spun Johnny Cash, and the air smelled like stale peanuts and regret. I was nursing a Bud Light, fresh from a shift at the auto parts store, when this guy slides onto the stool next to me, tall, lanky, with a mop of blonde hair that felt like he'd just rolled out of bed after a bender. "You look like you could use a real drink," he said, his voice gravelly from too many smokes, flashing a grin that was all teeth and trouble. Levi Whitaker, he introduced himself, a tattoo artist from over in Covington, Kentucky, just across the river. We talked shit about the Bengals' losing streak, swapped stories about shitty bosses, and by last call, he was scrawling his number on a napkin with a Sharpie he pulled from God knows where. Levi was easy, too easy maybe. Our first hookup was in the back of his beat-up Ford Ranger, parked behind a Walmart, the kind of reckless that makes you feel alive until the shame creeps in at dawn. He was all rough edges and no promises, whispering, "This doesn't have to mean anything," while his hands mapped my skin like he was claiming territory. I told myself it was fine. I was experimenting, right? Just blowing off steam in a world that still treated guys like us like punchlines in a Jeff Foxworthy routine. But Levi stuck around longer than he should have. Late-night texts about his latest ink designs, drags on his Marlboros shared on fire escapes, even a half-assed attempt at brunch at a Waffle House, where he confessed his folks had kicked him out at 17 for being too much like his uncle. The one who died of AIDS in the 80s, back when Reagan pretended it wasn't happening. I should have seen the warning signs, the way Levi's eyes would darken when I mentioned wanting more than hookups, how he'd vanish for days after we'd get too close. But I was lonely, starved for someone who saw me, really saw me, without the filter of small-town pity. So when he ghosted me after a fight, me pushing for labels, him laughing it off as queer bullshit, I buried it deep, like all the other bruises. Picked up extra shifts, blasted Springsteen until my ears rang, and convinced myself I was over it. Until Mason. Mason Reeves walked into my life like a plot twist in one of those indie flicks they play at the drive-in, unassuming, with a quiet intensity that hit you like a slow-burn whiskey. I met him at a mutual friend's barbecue in Clifton, one of those backyard deals where the grill smoke hangs heavy and everyone's pretending the humidity isn't melting their souls. He was there with Levi. Turns out they were old high school buddies from back in Hamilton, Ohio, the kind of bond forged in Friday Night Lights and shared detention slips. Mason was the Ian to Levi's Yang, broad-shouldered from construction work, dark curls that begged to be tugged, and eyes the color of Lake Erie on a stormy day, gray and endless. He handed me a solo cup of spiked lemonade, smirking as he said, "Levi says you're the one who fixed his alternator last month." Hero of the hour. We talked for hours that night, the party fading into fireflies and laughter around us. He was 24, apprenticing at a carpentry shop downtown, saving up to buy out his boss and start flipping old Victorians into something livable. "I want a place with a porch swing," he said, his voice low and earnest. "Somewhere I can watch the world go by without it watching me back." There was a weight to his words, a hidden current, but I was too caught up in the way he leaned in, elbows on knees, to question it. By midnight, when the host started herding drunks into Ubers, Mason asked for my number. Not because of Levi, he added quickly, cheeks flushing under the string lights. Because of you. Our first date was his idea, a drive-in theater on the outskirts of town, the kind that's been there since the 50s, with speakers that crackle like vinyl records. He'd picked The Notebook because, he admitted sheepishly, it was the only romance he'd ever watched without rolling his eyes. We pulled up in his Chevy Silverado, tailgate down, blankets spread out, like we were claiming the spot for ourselves. The lot was half empty, families in minivans and couples like us stealing glances in the dark. As the movie started, the rain came down in sheets, turning the world into a watercolor blur. I shifted closer, our shoulders brushing, and that's when it happened. His hand, rough from sanding wood all day, sliding over mine on the console. Tentative at first, like he was testing the waters of a riptide, then firm, fingers lacing through as if we'd done this 1,000 times. In that moment, everything crystallized. The isolation I'd carried like a backpack full of bricks lifted, just a little. His thumb traced slow circles on my knuckle, syncing with the on-screen downpour, and I felt seen, not as the figuring-it-out kid, but as Jordan. Whole. When Noah and Allie kissed in the rain, Mason turned to me, water beating on his lashes, and murmured, "That's us, isn't it?" Defying the storm. I nodded, throat tight, and leaned in. Our kiss was salt and sweetness, tentative turning fierce, the kind that rewires your soul. By the credits, we were tangled in the blankets, whispering futures, porch swings, road trips to the Smokies, a life where love wasn't a dirty secret. But secrets have a way of festering, don't they? Ours started small, innocent omissions that snowballed into avalanches. Mason never talked much about his family, just vague nods to a complicated dad who drove trucks cross-country and a mom who'd passed when he was 10. Levi, though, he was always there, orbiting like a bad moon. Brothers in arms, Mason called him, slapping his back at group hangs, oblivious to the way Levi's gaze lingered on me, sharp as a switchblade. I chalked it up to jealousy, the bitter aftertaste of our fling, but deep down, something gnawed, a whisper that Levi knew things I didn't. 2 months in, the cracks showed. It was a humid July night, the kind where the air clings like regret, and we'd driven out to Cedar Creek for a hike, escaping the city's hum. Mason had packed a cooler with craft IPAs and PB&JS, playing Mumford & Sons from his phone like he was scoring our own montage. We hiked the trails, hands brushing branches heavy with leaves, until we found a clearing by the lake, water lapping lazy, dragonflies skimming the surface. He spread out the blanket, pulled me down, and we talked about everything and nothing. My dream of opening a garage specializing in vintage Mustangs, his sketches for reclaimed wood furniture that could tell stories. Then, quiet as a confession, he said, "I haven't been honest with you, Jordan, about why I'm so guarded." My stomach twisted, but I squeezed his hand. "Tell me." He stared at the water, jaw tight. "When I was 16, back in Hamilton, I got caught kissing a guy at a party. Word spread like wildfire. Jocks calling me fairy boy in the halls, my dad. He didn't hit me, but he might as well have. Packed me off to this camp upstate, some Christian outfit promising to fix me. 3 months of prayers and push-ups, Jordan. They called it love, but it felt like drowning." His voice cracked, and I pulled him close, heart shattering for the boy he'd been, the man he was clawing to become. I got out, came out sort of. To Levi first. He was the only one who didn't flinch. A pause, heavy. But my dad. We don't talk. Haven't in years. I held him tighter, murmuring promises into his hair, that we'd build our own family, unbreakable. That night, under a canopy of stars, we made love in the slow, reverent way that binds souls, not bodies. No rush, no frenzy. Just us, mapping each other's scars like sacred text. For the first time, I believed in forever. But forever's a lie we tell ourselves to sleep at night. August brought the heat wave from hell, tempers flaring like faulty wiring. I was pulling doubles at the shop, grease under my nails, when Mom called, voice edged with that Midwestern worry that cuts deeper than anger. "Jordan, honey, your cousin's wedding's next month. You bringing anyone? Or is it still that phase? I bit back the truth, mumbled something about work, hung up feeling like I'd swallowed glass. Mason noticed, of course, curled up on my couch that night, binging The Office to forget the world. What's eating you? He asked, pausing on Jim's pratfall. I hesitated, then spilled it. The family pressure, the closet I'd half-stepped out of, how every holiday felt like a minefield. He listened, chin on his knee, then said softly, bring me. As your plus one. Let him see we're real. My heart swelled, but doubt flickered. You sure? It's Ohio, Mason. Not exactly Rainbow Central. He grinned, that lopsided one that melted me. All the more reason. We're in this together, right? We were. Or so I thought. The wedding was in my hometown. A sprawling Hale Clan affair at the VFW Hall. Cornflower centerpieces, chicken cordon bleu from Costco, and Uncle Ray's off-key rendition of Sweet Caroline. I introduced Mason as my guy, casual as breathing, but the room went still, forks hovering midair. Dad's grip on his beer tightened. Mom's smile froze like bad Botox. Whispers rippled. Is that? Poor kid. Must be confused. Levi was there too, invited as family friend, nursing a whiskey sour in the corner, eyes locked on us like a hawk. The reception dragged, awkward toasts blurring into a haze, until I stepped out for air on the gravel lot. Mason followed, loosening his tie. That was intense, he admitted, lighting a rare cigarette. A habit from stress, he said. Yeah, thanks for being here. I kissed his temple, breathing him in, sawdust and soap. Inside, Levi cornered me by the dessert table, breath sour. You think you're hot shit now, Hale? Parading him around like a trophy. Back off, Levi. This isn't about you. He laughed, bitter. Everything's about me. You think Mason told you everything? Ask him about prom night. Ask why he really stopped talking to his dad. I shoved past, heart hammering, but the seed was planted. That night, in the motel room we'd booked to avoid Mom's spare bed, I couldn't shake it. Mason was asleep, arms slung over me, but I stared at the ceiling, Levi's words looping like a bad country ballad. The next week, the dam broke. I'd found an old photo in Mason's wallet during laundry. Him and Levi, arms around each other at a bonfire, younger, happier. Inked on the back, forever yours, M. Innocent, probably, but in my spiraling brain, it screamed betrayal. I confronted him over takeout tacos, voice shaking. What's this? You and Levi, were you? His face crumpled. Jordan, it's not. Were you sleeping with him? While we? No. God, no. That was years ago, before I even knew you. High school shit. He was my first. Everything. But it's over. Dead and buried. Then why the note? Forever yours. He deflated, rubbing his temples. Because I was stupid. Thought love was possession back then. But you're different. Real. I wanted to believe him, but the poison spread. Texts from Levi piled up, taunting, half-drunk voicemails. He'll leave you too, just like he did me. For his daddy's approval. I deleted them, but the doubt festered. Mason pulled away, sensing the chill, working late on a big flip. One night, I tailed him, pathetic, I know, to a bar in Kentucky. There he was, with Levi, heads bent close over pool cues. Laughing, touching shoulders. Rage boiled over. I stormed in, yanking Mason's arm. What the hell? Jordan? What are you? You're with him. After everything. Levi smirked from the shadows. Told you he'd crack. Mason's eyes widened, horrified. It's not what it looks like. He's spiraling, bad breakup. I was just being a friend. But I was gone, tires screeching into the night, tears blurring the taillights. Days blurred into silence. Ignored calls, radio static on the shop radio. Mom tried intervening. Give the boy space, honey. But her tone said I told you so. I drowned in work, in whiskey shots at the Rusty Nail, until Levi showed up one rainy Tuesday, soaked and smug. He's mine, you know, he slurred, leaning too close. Always has been. That camp? Mason went for me. To fix what we had. But he couldn't. And now you're just the rebound. The words hit like a sucker punch. I shoved him out, locked the door, but the truth clawed in. Mason's secret wasn't just the camp. It was Levi. The love he'd buried. The one that explained the guarded glances, the late nights. I drove to his place at dawn, pounding on the door until he answered, bleary-eyed in boxers. Tell me he's lying, I demanded, chest heaving. Tell me you didn't go through hell for him. Mason's face drained of color. He pulled me inside, collapsing on the couch. I did. But not like that. Levi was out, proud even, back then. I wasn't. When Dad found out about us, it broke him. Me going to that place was his ultimatum. Choose family or that sin. I chose survival. Chose to pretend. And Levi, he waited for a while, until I pushed him away for good. To protect him. To protect myself. Why didn't you tell me? My voice cracked raw. I thought we were building something honest. Because I was ashamed, he whispered, tears carving tracks down his stubble. Ashamed of the boy who let fear win. But with you, Jordan, I want it clean. Fresh. No ghosts. The room spun, empathy warring with fury. I'd misunderstood, let jealousy twist the knife, but his silence had handed me the blade. I can't. I need time. I choked out, bolting before the sobs hit. Weeks dragged like tar. Cincinnati turned autumn gold, leaves crunching under my boots as I wandered parks, replaying every touch, every lie. Levi texted an apology. Bullshit, probably, but it cracked something. He was broken too, lashing out from his own abandonment. I met him at a coffee shop, neutral ground, and we talked. Not as enemies, but survivors. I love him, Levi admitted, stirring his black drip. But not like that anymore. Like a brother I lost. Don't fuck it up like I did. His words lit the fuse. I drove to the Victorian Mason was flipping, a sagging beauty in Walnut Hills, porch swing half hung. He was there, sanding floors and sawdust clouds, radio crooning Tracy Chapman. I stood in the doorway, heart in my throat. That swings for us, I said, voice steady for the first time in months. He looked up, Sander whirring to silence, eyes hopeful and wrecked. Jordan, I get it now. The secrets, the fear. I've got my own, family that might never understand, a life half-lived. But if we're gonna do this, no more hiding. No more ghosts. He crossed the room in 3 strides, pulling me into dust and desperation, our kiss tasting of salt and second chances. No more, he vowed against my lips. Just us. Building. We didn't fix everything overnight. My family. Dad sent a stiff Christmas card. Mom prayed extra rosaries. But they showed up to our housewarming. Awkward, but there. Levi faded into friendship, inked a matching tattoo on our forearms. A tiny porch swing, symbol of the home we'd claim. And the drive-in? We went back every summer, rain or shine, his hand finding mine in the dark. Not as a spark, but a steady flame. Love isn't a fairy tale. It's the fight after the kiss, the choice in the quiet hours. Mason and I chose each other, every damn day, in a country that sometimes forgets what that means. And in the end, that's the real forever, not perfection, but persistence. Human as hell, and twice as beautiful. The swing creaked under our weight that first night back together, the Victorian's porch overlooking a street lined with gas lamps flickering like hesitant fireflies. Mason's arm was heavy around my shoulders, his breath warm against my neck as we swayed, the city humming below us like a lullaby we'd earned. Remember the drive-in? He murmured, fingers tracing the new ink on my arm. The tiny swing that Levi had etched with surprising tenderness, a peace offering wrapped in needle pricks. How could I forget? I leaned into him, the October chill nipping at our flannels. One touch, and boom, apocalypse. He chuckled, low and rumbling, but it faded quick, like smoke from his occasional post-fight cigarette. I never meant to drag you through my mess, Jordan. The camp, Levi. It was like carrying a rucksack full of grenades. One bump, and kaboom. I turned, cupping his jaw, stubble rough as truth. We're disarming them together. That's the deal. But deals in the Midwest come with fine print, written in faded ink on yellowed pages of family Bibles and small-town gossip columns. The housewarming was my half-baked olive branch to the Hales, a potluck in our half-finished kitchen, folding chairs scavenged from the garage, and a playlist of neutral hits. No Gaga, no Garth, just Jimmy Buffett to keep the peace. Mom arrived first, Tupperware towers in tow, deviled eggs dyed the colors of the rainbow, her passive-aggressive nod to acceptance. Dad trailed behind, Steelers mug in hand, eyes darting like he expected a pride flag ambush. Mason played host like a champ, All easy smiles and refills on the iced tea, but I caught the tension in his shoulders, the way he stiffened when Uncle Ray clapped him on the back too hard, booming. So, you boys fixing up this old girl? But it's got good bones. The subtext hung thick. Like you too, huh? Patching up something unnatural. Cousin Emily, the bride from that wedding fiasco, hovered with her toddler on her hip, cooing at the exposed brick walls while shooting me side eyes that could curdle milk. Levi showed late, fashionably disheveled in a Henley that showed off his sleeve of tattoos, dragons coiling around roses, each thorn a story he'd inked over pain. He'd sworn off the drama, promised to be the cool ex-friend, but as he hugged Mason a beat too long, I felt that old coil tighten in my gut. Place looks solid, he said, handing over a bottle of bourbon, Maker's Mark, Mason's Vice. To new beginnings. And not fucking them up. The afternoon blurred into small talk minefields. Dad grilling Mason on the Bengals draft picks, safe territory. Mom cornering me by the sink about grandkids someday. Adoption's a blessing, you know. I nodded through gritted teeth, excusing myself to the backyard where Levi was chain-smoking by the fire pit. You good? He asked, exhaling a dragon plume. Fan-fucking-tastic, I muttered, snatching a drag. Just navigating the homophobe Olympics. He snorted, but his eyes softened. Your folks aren't monsters, Jordan. Just stuck in 85. Mine threw me out with a bus ticket and a curse. At least you've got a shot at bridge building. I handed back the cig, studying him. The lines etched early around his mouth, the way his laugh never quite reached his eyes. Why'd you wait so long to tell me the truth? About you and Mason? Levi shrugged, grinding the butt under his boot. Pride. Jealousy. Pick your poison. But seeing you two? It's like watching a house get rebuilt after a tornado. Messy, but worth it. By dusk, the hails trickled out. Hugs stiffer than starched collars, but Mom lingered, pressing a check into my palm. For the house. And for happiness, whatever shape it takes. Her voice wobbled, and I pulled her close, inhaling the familiar scent of chantilly and regret. Progress, inch by inch. That night, alone in our creaky bed, Mason and I mapped the future on crumpled graph paper, blueprints for built-ins, paint swatches in storm cloud and harvest moon. His head on my chest, he whispered dreams of foster kids someday, giving back what we never had. I kissed his forehead, believing in it all, until the phone buzzed at 2 a.m. Unknown number, Dad's gravel voice on the line. Jordan, we need to talk. About your lifestyle. Church groups got resources. No judgment, son. Just help. The words landed like buckshot, splintering the fragile peace. I hung up, trembling, and Mason stirred, pulling me back. Ignore it, he murmured. We're our own church now. But ignoring isn't erasing. November rolled in with gray skies and gratitude that's more obligation than thanks. Thanksgiving at my parents', neutral ground, they insisted, with turkey from the butcher and no politics. Mason and I arrived arms full, pie from Buskin's, his famous cornbread stuffing. The table was set like a truce. Dad at the head, Mom fluttering, siblings scattered with their straight-laced spouses. Levi begged off, family drama's your rodeo, but his absence felt like a shadow. Dinner started civil. Grace said over clasped hands, small talk about Black Friday sales. Then Uncle Ray, 3 beers deep, leaned in with a smirk. So, Mason, you ever think about settling down proper? Church wedding, the works? My pastor's got a program, real eye-opener for folks like you. The room iced over. Dad coughed into his napkin, Mom's fork clattered. Mason's hand found mine under the table, vice tight. But I saw the flinch, the echo of camp sermons ringing in his ears. We're good as we are, thanks, he said, voice even as a carpenter's level. Ray chuckled, oblivious. Just saying. World's changing, but some things. Eternal, you know. I snapped. Eternal like love? Or eternal like judgment? Drop it, Ray. Mom intervened, eyes pleading, but the damage was done. We left early, pie uneaten, the drive home silent except for the wipers slapping rain. At our place, Mason punched the wall, drywall dinting like his resolve, then slid down, head in hands. I can't do this, Jordan. The looks, the pity. It's like I'm 16 again, begging for scraps. I knelt, prying his fists open. Then we fight it. Together. Or we walk away from them, not us. He looked up, eyes storm-tossed. What if walking away breaks you? It didn't, not then. We hunkered down, fortifying our bubble. Holiday lights strung early, Netflix marathons of Schitt's Creek for the laughs, long drives to the Ohio River where the water whispered forgiveness. December brought snow, blanketing the city in hush, and with it, Mason's dad, a ghost made flesh. The knock came New Year's Eve, fireworks popping distant as we prepped fondue. Mason froze at the door, face ashen. There stood Harlan Reeves, burly, trucker-tanned, with Mason's jaw and none of his warmth. Heard you settled, he grunted, hat in hand. Thought I'd see. Mason's voice was ice. 4 years too late, Dad. Harlan shifted, boots scuffing our welcome mat. That camp, I pushed too hard. Grief, after your mom. But I've been reading. Groups online, stories. I was wrong. The air crackled, old wounds ripping open. I hovered in the kitchen, heart pounding, giving them space but ready to shield. Voices rose, accusations flying like snowballs. You broke me. I was scared. Then, a hush, Harlan's rumble softening. Let me try, son. Please. Mason glanced my way, eyes pleading for anchor. I nodded, slipping out to the porch swing, breath fogging the night. Minutes later, he joined me, Harlan's truck rumbling away. He wants to meet you, Mason said, tentative. Dinner. Neutral. My gut twisted. Visions of shotguns and sermons, but I saw the boy in him, starved for reconciliation. Okay, but we set boundaries, like rebar in concrete. Dinner was at a Cracker Barrel off I-75, pancakes and politics-free zones, the kind of Americana that papers over cracks. Harlan was awkward, buttering biscuits like they held state secrets, but he asked about the house, complimented Mason's hands, calluses like mine, good honest work. When he turned to me, it was gruff. You make him happy? Every day, I said, meeting his gaze. And he does the same for me. A nod, almost approval. That's more than I gave him. Progress, fragile as spun sugar. But Levi's shadow loomed longer than I knew. Mid-January, a client at the shop, a nosy regular with a lifted F-150, slid me a USB drive with a wink. Heard you're tight with the carpenter. Check this. Eyes wide open, kid. Heart sinking, I plugged it in at home. Grainy video from a Hamilton bar, time-stamped last summer. Pre-us, but post our first sparks. Mason and Levi, shots lined up, bodies close in the booth. Then, a kiss, brief, slurred, but unmistakable. Levi pulling back, laughing it off, but Mason's hand lingering on his neck. Betrayal hit like whiplash. I confronted Mason that night. Video paused on freeze-frame heartbreak. Explain this. His face cycled shock to sorrow. A lapse. Blackout drunk, old habits. Nothing happened after. I swear. While we were dating. Building trust. Fury boiled. Hot as radiator steam. You lied. Again. I was scared of losing you, he shouted, voice echoing off our beams. Levi was safe, familiar pain. But you're home. The fight raged. Words as weapons. Accusations carving deeper than any saw. I stormed out, crashing at Levi's dive. Ironic, crashing with the grenade. He opened the door, reeking of turpentine, eyes knowing. Knew it'd blow. Fuck you. I spat, but collapsed on his couch anyway. We talked till dawn. His regrets, my rage, the tangled web of love and loss. He's not perfect, Levi said, brewing sludge coffee. None of us are. But he chose you. Every time. Dawn brought clarity, cold and cutting. I returned to find Mason packing, suitcases half-zipped, eyes red-rimmed. Go, he said, defeated. I get it. No. I grabbed his wrist. We unpack this. Therapy, maybe. But together. He searched my face, hope flickering. You mean that? Like that first touch. Life-changing. We didn't fix it pretty. Sessions with a counselor in Hyde Park, unpacking camp trauma and family fallout like rotten floorboards. Harlan showed up sporadically, tentative texts evolving to Sunday brunches. Mom sent rainbow Afghans. Dad grumbled, but attended our first joint barbecue. Levi? He bowed out gracefully, moving to Louisville for a gallery gig. Time for my own swing. By spring, the house stood whole, swing gliding smooth, garden blooming defiant. Mason and I, scarred but standing, hands linked on that porch, watching storms roll in. Love's not the spark. It's the rebuild, the choice to stay when the foundation shakes. And in America's heartland, where rainbows clash with rust, that's revolution enough. Spring in Cincinnati is a tease. Tulips pushing through mud one day, tornado warnings the next, mirroring the chaos we'd invited into our rebuild. Therapy Wednesdays became ritual. Dr. Elena's office in a converted row house, walls lined with succulents and abstract prints that screamed healing in progress. Mason and I sat side by side on that sagging leather couch, hands clasped like lifelines, spilling guts we'd long buried. Resentments like dry rot, she'd say, her Brooklyn accent cutting through our drawls. Invisible till the floor caves. My turn first. The video, the betrayal stings sharper than Levi's needle. It's not just the kiss, I admitted, voice raw. It's the pattern, secrets stacking like Jenga, waiting to topple us. Mason nodded, jaw clenched. I learned to hide at camp. Don't ask, don't tell. Military bullshit they repurposed for souls. With you, I wanted transparency, but old wiring shorts out. Dr. Elena leaned forward, glasses perched like a professor's. And you, Jordan? What's your hideout? The question gutted me. Fear. Of not being enough. Dad's resources call? It echoes every time I doubt us, like I'm still the kid sneaking glances at the quarterback. Homework followed. Vulnerability journals, daily entries shared over coffee. Mine read like confessionals, pages on Mom's Afghan as armor, Dad's silence as shrapnel. Mason's were blueprints, sketches of the camp's barbed fence, annotated with demolish. Progress crept, slow as sap, but by May, we laughed more. Inside jokes about Ray's pancakes, toasts to no more ghosts. Then summer scorched in, humid as unresolved sin. Harlan's visits up to weekly, gruff check-ins at the house, him hammering loose nails while Mason sanded trim, a silent duet of amends. Your mom's apple pie recipe, he'd grunt one afternoon, wiping sweat, better than mine ever was. Mason's eyes misted. I slipped out, letting father-son thaw without witness. But family reunions stir pots long cold. The Hale annual picnic hit July 4th weekend, backyard blowout at my parents', complete with flag cakes and fireworks that lit the sky like false promises. I'd dreaded it since the wedding, but therapy armored me. Boundaries aren't walls, they're gates. We arrived early, Mason in crisp khakis, me in a polo that hid my tattoo, subtle rebellion. Mom fussed, setting out her famous potato salad, while Dad manned the grill, tongs flipping burgers like verdicts. Boys, he greeted, nod stiff but eyes softer than last Christmas. Ray was there, of course, beer gut straining his polo, but he'd texted an apology post-Thanksgiving. Meant well, kid. Old dog, new tricks. Skeptical, but I accepted. Grace is a two-way street. The picnic hummed. Kids chasing sparklers, aunts gossiping over sweet tea. Mason charmed, tossing a frisbee with my nephews, his laugh booming genuine. Even Dad pulled him aside for a private chat. Tools, trucks, the mail code. Hope flickered. Maybe this was the thaw. Until dusk, when fireworks boomed and Levi appeared, uninvited, crashing like a rogue sparkler. He'd driven up from Louisville, on a whim, bottle of Fireball in hand. Heard it was the big shindig, he said, clapping my shoulder too hard. Eyes glassy, breath sharp, relapse vibes screaming. Mason's face tightened. Not now, man. Levi ignored, weaving through kin like a bad omen. Jordan, your cousin's kid, looks just like you at that age. All wide-eyed innocence. To Ray, heard you're into fix-it programs. Ever try one for loose cannons? The table hushed. Ray flushed beet red. Watch it, Sonny. Levi laughed, sloshing his drink. Sonny? I'm the one who got the boot for loving wrong. Sound familiar? He turned to Dad, venom dripping. Ask Mason about camp. Real American values there. Pray the gay away. Gasps rippled. Mom's hand flew to her throat. Dad's spatula clattered. Mason surged up, grabbing Levi's arm. Enough. Outside. Now. I followed, heart thundering, the night air thick with cordite and catastrophe. In the side yard, shadows pooling, Levi jerked free. Truth hurts, huh? You two play house while the world's still burning queers at the stake, metaphorically, in Ohio. Mason's voice shook. This isn't about you. Not anymore. Levi's eyes welled, anger cracking to ache. It was always about me. You left, Mason. For him. After everything. The pieces clicked. Levi's whim was sabotage, born of loneliness festering into sabotage. Go, I said firm. Before you torch what we've built. He staggered back, defeated. Fine. Happy endings for the heroes. Vanished into the dark, taillights fading like a bad sequel. Inside, Fallout waited. Dad cornered us by the cooler, face thunderous. What the hell was that? Some ex-stirring shit. Mason met his gaze, Harlan's steel in his spine. Old wounds, sir. But we're healing. All of us. Dad exhaled, long and labored. I called that pastor. Went to a meeting. Not for you, for me. Understanding. The admission hung, vulnerable as a peeled onion. Mom joined, hugging us fierce. We're trying, boys. God knows, we're trying. Fireworks crescendoed, stars bursting overhead, and for once, the explosions felt like release. We stayed till the end, plates piled high, kin circling wary but willing. Driving home, Mason's hand in mine, I whispered. That was apocalypse level. He grinned, squeezing. And we survived. Heroes. But heroes bleed. August brought heat lightning and Harlan's bombshell. A heart scare, stents and stents, doctor's orders to slow down or stop. He showed at the house unannounced, gaunt in his flannel, clutching a manila envelope. Will, he rasped, sliding it across the counter. Everything to you, son. And Jordan, co-sign if you want. Family now. Mason blanched. Dad, you can't. Watch me. Regrets are heavier than trucks. He coughed, waving off water. One ask. Let me walk you down an aisle. Someday. Make it right. The word aisle detonated. Marriage, legal in Ohio since 2015, but taboo in Reeves' lore. Mason looked to me, eyes wide as the envelope. Jordan. My throat closed. Yeah, someday. Harlan left with a nod, truck rumbling south. That night, we pored over papers by lamplight, dreams solidifying. A small ceremony, backyard vows under the swing. But doubt nipped. Obergefell was law, but hearts lag. What if Dad boycotted? Ray heckled? Levi lurked? September steadied U.S. Harvest fairs, apple picking in the orchards, therapy evolving to premarital prep. Dr. Elena grinned. You're not just surviving, you're thriving. But remember, marriage is a house. Build strong, or it leans. Levi resurfaced via text. Clean, contrite. Fucked up. Rehab in Louisville. Sponsor says own it. We met neutral, at a diner off 71, eggs over easy like fragile peace. I was the grenade, he admitted, fork spearing yolk. Pulled the pin on myself. Sorry doesn't cut it, but start. Mason clasped his hand across the formica. Restart. As friends. No pins. I nodded, the knot in my chest loosening. Forgiveness isn't forgetting. It's framing the photo crooked but keeping it. October painted the hillsides gold, and with it, the proposal. Not grand, no Eiffel Tower knockoffs, just us. We'd hiked Alt Park, leaves crunching under boots, the pagoda overlooking the valley like a sentinel. At the crest, wind whipping curls, Mason dropped to one knee. Rings simple, silver band etched with our swing. Jordan Hale, you've been my anchor in every storm. Build forever with me. Tears stung, joy sharp as cider. Yes. God, yes. We called Harlan first, his whoop crackling the line. Attaboy. Then Mom, sobbing happy. Dad, gruff proud. Levi sent a thumbs-up emoji, bourbon emoji crossed out. The world tilted benevolent. But November whispered warnings. Wedding plans bloomed, venue the backyard. Officiant a queer Unitarian from the center, invites hand-stamped on reclaimed wood. RSVPs trickled. Hale's yes, with caveats, keep it tasteful. Reeves kin scattered, but Harlan all in. Then, a no-show shadow. Dad's meeting with his pastor escalated, group intervention, concerned loved ones ambush at the VFW. He confessed over coffee, hands wringing like dish rags. They say it's a phase, son. Temptation. But seeing you. Happy. It's cracking my foundation. Fight it, Dad. I urged, throat tight. For us. He nodded, but eyes haunted. The wedding loomed. December 20th. Winter wonderland whimsy. And with it, the climax we'd courted. Acceptance or rupture. Rehearsal dinner at the Rusty Nail, ironic full circle. Harlan toasted gruff. To love that endures. Mom teared up. Ray even clapped. Dad raised his glass, voice steady. To family. Blood or chosen. Bliss teetered. Then, post-dinner, a call. Levi, voice slurred. Don't marry him. He's still hiding. Check his phone. Paranoia surged. Later, snooping, therapy's trust exercise be damned. I found texts. Mason to an unknown. Can't risk it. Not yet. Heart plummeting. I confronted him in our bed, phone glowing accusatory. His face crumpled. It's Harlan. Cancer. Stage 3. Didn't want a burden. Wedding first. Lies again, but born of protection. No more. I whispered, pulling him close. We carry together. Dawn broke merciful, and the ceremony waited. Snow dusting the swing like confetti from heaven. December 20th dawned crisp, the kind of Ohio winter where breath clouds like secrets exhaled, and the sun peeks shy through frost-laced pines. Our backyard transformed overnight, string lights twinkling from the oak, heaters humming against the chill, the porch swing draped in white tulle like a bridal veil. Mason paced the kitchen in his undershirt, tie half knotted, curls tamed but eyes wild. What if it snows harder? Guests freeze, Dad flakes. I caught his hands, steadying. It'll snow, beauty. And Dad's here, saw his truck. A white lie. He'd promised, but doubt lingered like last night's cigar smoke. The ceremony was intimate, 30 souls braving the cold. Harlan frail but beaming in his wool coat. Mom and Pearls clutching tissues. Ray surprisingly sober with a congrats, fellas grunt. Levi arrived last, clean-shaven in a button-down, slipping me a nod. You clean up nice, groom. No grenades, just quiet amends. Dr. Elena officiated, irony sweet, her voice carrying over the hush. Love isn't absence of storm, it's the shelter you build within. Vows exchanged under the swing. Mine, halting with memory. You slid into my life like rain on dry earth, Mason. I'll weather every downpour with you. His voice gravel steady. You saw me whole when I was splintered. I promised to hold your hand through every flicker. Rings slid on, simple bands, engraved defy the storm, and the kiss sealed it. Salt lip winter, crowd whooping soft. Harlan's hug crushed next, whisper rasping. Proud, son. So damn proud. Mom's followed, sobbing into my lapel. Even Dad stepped up, handshake firm, eyes wet. Beautiful boys. Truly. Ray clapped backs, awkward but earnest, to the grooms. Fireball shots passed discreet, Levi abstaining, water in hand. The reception flowed, catered chili in bread bowls, Esmore stationed by the pit, a playlist blending Cash and Chapin. Harlan pulled Mason for a waltz, clumsy, laughing, while I twirled Mom, her steps light. Dad watched from the sidelines, nursing Coco, until I dragged him in. One spin, pops. He grumbled, but relented, grip tentative on my waist. Never thought I'd. Trailed off, but the sway said enough. Acceptance, inching like thaw. Snow fell gentle as we cut cake. Chocolate ganache, Buskin's finest, and danced under lights, Mason's forehead to mine. Husband, he breathed, the word foreign and fitting. But climaxes crest before crash. As guests thinned, Harlan pulled us aside, envelope trembling in his grip. Test results, wrong. Remission. Laughter bubbled, relief flooding like spring. Then Dad approached, pastor in tow, uninvited, face pinched as bad milk. Son, a word. This. Farce. It's not too late to repent. The yard stilled. Mom gasped, Harlan bristled. Mason's hand crushed mine, but I stepped forward, voice steel. No, Dad. It's done. We're done hiding for you. The pastor droned scripture, but Dad silenced him with a raised palm. Eyes locked on mine, war raging visible. I came to. Bless it. Or try. Swallow hard. Love you, Jordan. Even when it scares me. Tears pricked. Hugs followed, pastor slinking away. Ray even offered. Bourbon on me, sometime. No sermons. Levi lingered last, hugging Mason fierce. Told you you'd get your swing. To me. Guard it. Both of you. Midnight tolled. Guests gone, snow blanketing confetti. Alone on the swing, wrapped in quilts, Mason's head on my shoulder, we watched flakes dance. That touch at the drive-in, he murmured. It changed everything. For better. I kissed his temple, hand over his, steady, scarred. And we're just getting started. Years blurred forward. The house filled, foster boys first, then adoption papers stamped. Harlan rallied, fishing trips with grandsons. Dad softened, pride flags on his porch by Father's Day. Mom knit booties. Ray coached Little League, no questions. Levi thrived, gallery shows, a boyfriend named Theo, weekends barbecues sans drama. Me? Garage opened, Mustangs purring under my wrench. Mason's flips turned empire, reclaimed with telling tales of resilience. Conflicts came, teen rebellions, health scares, the world's endless churn, but we faced them hand in hand. Therapy touchstone, swing our sanctuary. Love, American style, messy, defiant, deeply human. Not fairy tale gloss, but Rust Belt real, where a drive-in touch sparks not just fire, but forge. And in that heat, we emerged unbreakable. Forever? Nah. But every day chosen, fiercely. That's the real hook.